So I believe I see how they are going to package this New World Order. Joe Biden came out, and he knows using the terms New World Order is not a good thing to half of the country. But he's talking about a New World Order, and they're going to start packaging this New World Order as a way to get away from globalization. Now, that's not really what it is. It is a bipolar world again. There will be an axis. We're going back to the Cold War. There'll be an axis and allied power, okay? And the West will work together and the East will work together. And they're starting to package this because this is the second time I've seen this in the New York Times. Look at this. A Ukrainian war and pandemic force nations to retreat from globalization. How many times have we asked on this program, are we making our own medicine? How about, our own oil, gas? Can we get independent on a few things because we're way too dependent on China? Nobody's actually ever done anything about that. But this is the way this is being spun. Mr. Biden, according to the New York Times, already frames his foreign policy in ideological terms as a mission of unifying democracies against autocracies. Mr. Biden also says he's enacting a foreign policy for middle-class Americans. Wow, it's working out. And central to getting companies to move critical supply chains and manufacturing out of China. The goal is given urgency by the hobbling of these global links over the last 2 years of the pandemic. Now, have you heard anyone make this case to the American people? That's a pretty good campaign thing to run on, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Didn't run on that. I think they are working in reverse here. They're looking for a narrative to sell all of this stuff. So the narrative is going to be, we're getting away from China. Warning. Okay, so yesterday there was another step taken for the delisting of Chinese stocks. And they say that is going to happen in the next couple of years. Now, let's look at, by the way, we also announced yesterday more sanctions are coming on Russia, and we threatened China. If you help them at all, we're coming after you too. Oh, are we? Are we really? Okay. I told you years ago that war is the way you change maps and currencies and everything else, because at the end of a global war, it's been so horrible that it doesn't matter that you don't go back to the way things were. You just want the war to end, okay? So if you were really interested in peace, would you not, if you were an honest person, would you not just continue the Abrahamic Accords? Continue in the direction, because we saw more movement in the Middle East towards peace and unity than we've ever seen in my lifetime under Donald Trump. You may not like him, you may not like his tweets, whatever, but if you are actually interested in the Middle East not being chaotic, you would continue down that road. Even if you thought it was wrong, you might just continue it until it starts to fall apart.
Right. Like if you, at the beginning, thought that these changes would create a new conflict in the region, which wasn't a completely unreasonable thought. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I can understand why people thought it might. But since those haven't materialized and we have seen peace in the region since they occurred, wouldn't you continue to go down that road, at least until something changed?
I would think so. Now, let me show you what's happening in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia won't take our phone call. So they're now selling their oil to China. They got a bigger, they've said enough of the old, in with the new. So they're not even taking Joe Biden's phone call. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Joe Biden has said, we don't like Saudi Arabia and blah, 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 blah. Well, who does? Except for the king of Saudi Arabia. But that's always been the deal, and we've always been there to back them. So now we've taken Russia, a huge oil field, Saudi Arabia, huge oil field, and Iran, huge oil field, allowed them to open it up for the rest of the world, just not the West. We've forced them together, and they've taken all of that oil, and they're pumping it east instead of west. That's destabilizing for the West. But one of the reasons why Saudi Arabia is so mad at us is because Joe Biden went in and reopened the Iran deal and tried to bring all of these blessings of all of the things that Joe Biden did under Barack Obama and bring that back to life. Okay, this is a really, really bad deal. First of all, Tehran attacked Iraq with ballistic missiles last month, and through its Houthi proxies in Yemen, they launched a missile and drone strike on Abu Dhabi in January, and I believe they just launched another strike over the weekend in Saudi Arabia. So how is this happening? Well, Iran is getting stronger, and they're also going to have a whole bunch of extra money because now they can sell their oil, and it's not slowing them down on a nuke. So we're not only looking at instability, we're looking at a possibly nuclear-armed Iran with a lot of money. This is why, and you're not going to read this very often anywhere, but check the Israeli papers. This is why Israel is practicing bombing runs on Iran, because they know that they're going to have a nuke and they have to take it out. So now you have Iran and Russia and China partnered, and you have Israel going and attacking with what is said to be a massive attack that is coming, and they're not hiding it. They're telling, if this deal goes through and we are left alone, we are going in. So now you have a major attack on Iran. Do you think that might cause a war in the Middle East? Which side are we on? For the first time in my life, I don't know. But that would make it a two-front war. And quite honestly, if that's happening with Israel, and there's a real war going on with Israel and a real war going on with the Ukraine, if I'm President Xi, I just go into Taiwan. I just go in. Because what is the world going to do? You're going to fight that war too? Nope.
Without those wars, he basically went into Hong Kong and nobody said anything.
Exactly right.
So, I don't see why Taiwan would be any different. And we wouldn't even be able to do the things that we were doing in Ukraine as far as supplying them. I mean, just the geography of that situation doesn't allow for it in an ongoing conflict. So what do you do? What is Iran hoping for here?
Iran wants to annihilate Israel.
Yeah, well, that's always their long-term hope. But are they seeing a path out of their sort of isolation here? Because I mean, if they ally with China and Russia, you'd think they would be less likely to get the benefits of a nuclear deal that obviously benefits them. Why would they be signing it?
So let's just remember where Iran came from. Remember, that was the land of Persia. What happened to Persia? When did Persia become Iran? Persia became Iran during World War II, when the head of Persia and the the Grand Imam in Jerusalem, at the mosque in Jerusalem, became very big Hitler fans. They loved Hitler. We have several pictures in our museum of all of these guys meeting with Hitler. They had their own SS guard to round up Jews. I mean, most people don't know that. We have the uniforms here in our museum. It's a really bad thing. The word Persia went away. The name Persia went away. It was a gift to Hitler. They changed Persia to Iran. Translation, Aryan. They said to Hitler, "We are your Aryan nation." Okay? So that kind of craziness is baked into the religious zealots. For generations, it's baked in. Hitler was right. So I don't know if you can say any more than it's an Axis ally that doesn't mind slaughtering people, just like Russia, just like China. They have their own design, but now this is Gog and Magog. I don't remember which one is which, but one of them is Russia and the other one is Iran. Those are the modern day names for those. Those two are the ones that come against Israel. I could see that easily happening. Easily.
So these three countries that we're talking about is Iran, Russia, China.
Mm-hmm.
There are different motivations for all of them.
Correct.
Here. When you look at the motivations, Iran, you're saying, is more of a theocratic,
yes,
ideological bent. How would you describe Russia and China's motivation here?
China just wants to gobble up as much as possible.
Empire building, pragmatism.
Russia wants Europe. So I think what they're all thinking to themselves, because you have to include on that new axis, India.
That's terrifying.
India
was our one.
Yes.
The one thing we could look to for hope in a large country, heavily populated, that was a big fan of the United States the largest capitalist, in theory, country on earth.
They have just thrown their weight with Russia and with China.
And that's Biden. You can't. They love Donald Trump.
Right.
Do you remember the rallies they had in India for Donald Trump? The president loved Donald Trump. We had a really good relationship with India when he was president.
Yeah, they loved him. One more thing. If you're Iran and the United States just gave you permission to have Russia come in and build more nuclear facilities, are you celebrating? If you're Iran, I would be if I'm them. And by the way, are you happy if you're Russia? Yeah, because they don't think that they would use the nukes on them. They'll use the nukes on Israel and some of their enemies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. And if Saudi Arabia gets nuked, who cares? We have oil, then they don't. This is a really touchy situation. And if you're not down on your knees every day praying to God for our country, asking for forgiveness on the things that we have done and continue to do, please start.